Out the window. What's up, everybody? We're back again. You know what I'm saying? Hope you guys are having a glorious day on the Lord's Sunday today. Filled with peace and blessings and all that good stuff. You know, I'm your host as always, Kale or Malik, whichever you want to call me. And today we're back again. We're back again to do some more Sunday Bible studying. Last week, you know what I'm saying, we kind of talked briefly. You know, I thought it was going to be a longer story than it ended up being, but we ended up talking briefly about the story of Isaac, Abraham's son, and then how that eventually all cascades and then leads into the story of Jacob and Esau, you know what I'm saying? So now we're going to go ahead and pick up, you know, a little bit more on like the story of Jacob and Esau, and then eventually follow the story as it leads from Jacob and Esau to the story of Jacob's 12 sons, which will then go on to become the 12 famed princes of Israel, right? So go ahead and open your books. Again, just like always, I'm rocking with the KJV version. You know what I'm saying? Any book you got, you know what I'm saying? I think all Bibles, they might have slight differences, but more or less you can follow along. But if you want to know the exact book I'm reading the KJV version. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Get your online Bibles or get your actual Bible out and follow along. So we're going to be, for me, on page 26, but the marker is going to be on Genesis 30, verse 14, with the title, Reuben Finds Mandrakes. So we're going to kind of pick up from there. Reuben, as you guys might remember, is the oldest son of Jacob. You know, it's Jacob's oldest son. I think it's Leah's, it's Leah's son that he had with Leah. So, yeah, we're going to start there. Okay. And again, this is verse 30 of Genesis. Chapter 30 of Genesis, verse 14. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. So already, just kind of following up what we talked about last episode about the sisters having this like kind of petty sister battle about the like who's having more kids. You can kind of see this as like a continuation of that. I just think this is funny because like, you know, the way I look at it is like all these people always are watching like Housewives of Atlanta and Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and like we got Love and Hip Hop Jesus version right here. Like we got Love and Hip Hop Jesus version right here. We got, you know, the two wives just like, yeah, all right, I'll give you a deal. You can have the husband. You can have the husband tonight for some of that food. I just imagine thinking back to that, like, you know, I heard Vanessa like, all right, now we need some food. You can have Jacob tonight, and we gonna get some of this food for real. Let's get some of this food. Yeah, that just cracks me up for some reason. But yeah, so now we're at verse 16. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob a fifth son. So that's why God was like, all right, well, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah. So God kind of still helped Leah out there and kind of helped finesse her with another child. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire because I have given my maiden to my husband, and she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, God hearkened to her and opened her womb. So after a while, God was like, okay, like let's make sure Rachel can have some kids, because that's like, you know what I'm saying? I can't just let her be out here not having no kids. And she conceived and bare a son and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. Jacob is denied permission to depart. This is verse 25, chapter 30. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away that I may go into my own place, into my own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go. For thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt give me anything. Thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats. And of such shall be my hire. Watch this. Watch how Jacob. So I spoke on this with the last Bible study, but God is very careful with how he chooses the names of people, just all throughout the whole entire Bible, but especially in the Old Testament. He's very careful when he chooses names. So I didn't realize this, but I learned afterwards that the word Jacob, that name Jacob, even though it didn't necessarily mean that, it wasn't like spelled like that in original Hebrew, but it basically boils down to like trickster or like trickery. So, you know what I'm saying? And you can see this recurrent theme. That's why I love the most about each one of these people is that we kind of look at these people in the Bible that were these just these figures, these powerful figures that were only really powerful because God appointed them to be powerful, but he appointed them, so they were very powerful. And we tend to sometimes like idolize, or not necessarily idolize, that might not be the right word, but we tend to put them on pedestals as like the examples. But outside of Jesus, and even Jesus had his struggles and his problems that he had to face to kind of become the figure he was. Each one of these people had an ongoing theme or a major problem that they faced throughout their life. Like Abraham, it was lying. Isaac kind of picked up the same mantle as his dad and was lying too. Jacob is a trickster. He's always tricking people and just doing trickstery stuff. So like each one of these figures, they all kind of had like lessons that came with them that they had to overcome themselves to get to that point of them being like the most God-bodied that they could be. And even when they were still like jacked up and dealing with these things, God still for sure helped them, and he helped lead them to where they needed to go, and like still molded them into who they need to be. So that's not to discourage any of my people out there who are either deep walking with Christ or you're just starting out. We're not perfect, but through God we can be closer to that. We'll never be fully perfect, but like with God everything's possible. You know what I'm saying? Like, and only through God is everything possible. So something to remember. All right. Let's see where we're at. 32. Okay. So shall my righteousness, and this is now we're at 33, verse 33. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, and when it shall come from my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hands of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob's policy whereby he becomes rich. Here we go. This where he come up off his uncle. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel. And also this, I'm going to speak on this too. There's also another big lesson with this passage as well right here specifically. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and piled white strakes and peeled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had pulled, or that he had peeled, before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maid servants, and men servants, and camels, and asses. So there you go. You see what I'm saying? He basically for show finesse his uncle by just like pivoting with how he did it, to make so that the ones that he was going to take, which are supposed to be the impure ones, he had way more of those. And he ended up like kind of overtaking his uncle's flock, and at the same time kind of breeding his uncle's flock, so that his uncle's flock was lesser than his, and his flock was the stronger, even though they were the ones who were technically impure. Now, the bigger lesson that I would like to impart with you guys too is that this is a great lesson in you are what you see and what you believe, right? So what he did is he took these what is it, green poplar, and he put the strikes in. He put the little straits in and put it in the river. So when the cattle and everything came to drink from the water, right? That's all they saw while they were drinking. When they were conceiving, they kept seeing these things in it, and once they seen the patterns, their children and their offspring were more likely to be born with those patterns. So that's a good example right here of like, you are what you believe and you are what you see. You know what I'm saying? We are a reflection of our environment. So seeing this kind of a thing, and just the fact that he was able to completely transform the flock to a desired flock where he can make a lot of money off of it just by changing what they see all the time. Changing the things that they looked at, you know what I'm saying, consistently, to the point where when they had their babies were a lot more likely to be born with those patterns and with those things, because that's what they were looking at, right? It's real crazy. So yeah, that's kind of like a slight thing there. So now we're at chapter 31. Jacob leaves Laban secretly. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah in the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ring straight. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled and grizzled. All right. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, here am I. And he said, lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring straight, speckled, and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. So this was kind of God assisting him, even though he did do some trickery here. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle and all his good which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Paddan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, and that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face towards the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives, taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs, with tabreth, and with harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now thou, though wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, Yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And so right now he don't even realize what's going on here. Jacob don't realize that his wife took the idols that he was using, which in a way I don't know if that's like, he said his God, so I don't know if that's like, I wonder, I kind of need some more what's it called in that passage. But I wonder if those gods were like him worshiping other gods against God and was kind of sinning against them by worshiping other idols and other things in the place of God. I'm curious about that. When I first read that, I wondered that too. And now thou, okay, my gods. And this is verse 31. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure thou wouldest take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern now what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen him. See what I'm saying? And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then when he out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. Jacob's complaint against Laban. And Jacob was wroth and chode with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee, I bear the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou acquire it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle. And thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God hath seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. So also kind of came to me too to speak on, came on my heart, thank you, Lord, to speak on just the almost redemption process of Jacob here, right? So like I said earlier, Jacob was kind of a trickster, right? But I think almost kind of has, since God has a way of balancing people and slowly like helping you get those kind of bad things off your spirit, at least somewhat. It kind of transformed Jacob through hard labor. And that's why God allowed Jacob, I feel, to be able to go through that 20 years of labor, because he needed to work that, that trickery, that trickster energy out of him. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of can slowly see Jacob transforming into the man he needs to be here. Even though he kind of did the trickery a little bit still here too. It was more God ordained, and it was with God. So, he's kind of still has a little bit of it in him, but it's like slowly being worked out of him by how much he had to do that hard labor. And that was kind of like, it was almost like he tricked his brother, you know what I'm saying? It took all his brother had. So God basically made him be deeply tricked by having to work 20 some years to get, the wife he really wanted, because he, if you remember from the last story, he worked really hard to get Rachel. And then after he worked 7 years to get Rachel, he found out he was tricked, and he had to take Leah because she was the oldest daughter. So he had to take her, you know what I'm saying? And then he worked 7 more years for Rachel, and then 6 more years to be able to have the cattle so he could be able to survive. You know what I'm saying? So now this is Jacob and Laban make a covenant. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come now, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. This is verse 47. And Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mitzpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take otherwise besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillar. which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and God of their father judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned unto his place. This is chapter 32. Jacob calls the place of his vision Mahanaim. I'm probably butchering that, but I'll try my best. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, This is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Jacob's message to Esau. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, in the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servant and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks and herds and the camels into two bands. It said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. So he's really worried and scared here of his facing his brother's wrath for him stealing his blessing and his birthright. So now this is Jacob prays for deliverance. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord which saidst unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. And I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shewed unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. And thou sayest, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. Jacob sends a present to Esau, and he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels with their colts, 40 kine and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hands of his servants, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, Pass over before me, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, Whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, They be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third, and all that followed the drove, saying, On this manner shall you speak unto Esau when you find him. And say you, moreover, Behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. Now this is a very important game changer moment for Jacob. This is where Jacob's whole life changes from this point on. Jacob's name is changed to Israel. This is verse 24 of chapter 32. Of Genesis. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him and said, Tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, and sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank. Crazy. So that part, first off, Jacob's the only person who ever actually had to like wrestle physically with God to get a blessing. He's the only person who ever had to actually fight with God. He lost, you know what I'm saying, and forever, you know what I'm saying, that was kind of his path to remind him. That's the thing about God that you gotta love. God balances you out. You can't just have all the power-ups and bonuses. You have to be balanced out. So, you know, he was like, I'll deliver you, but you gonna walk with a limp for the rest of your life to be able to remind you of, like, you know, how far you came and what it took to get you here. You know what I'm saying? So God is very very fair and thorough like that. I feel like the way that he moves in a way where he specifically will take one, like give one thing, but take a thing away. And usually the thing he takes away is something that you ain't really need on like that anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll give you peace, but he wants to take away anger. You know what I'm saying? He'll give you abundance, but he wants to take away greed. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like the things you're trading are things that as humans we think we want, or they're habits, but they're really not things we actually need. You know what I'm saying? So it's really God. That's just another of the millions of different ways of proof of how great our God is that he isn't even taking away a thing that's a good thing worth, like, that's not worth giving up. It's something that what he's taking away is something that's like, oh, okay, I'll trade that. Like, that ain't even really worth me having. You know what I'm saying? Like, here you go. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's hard because we're humans of habit, but you know, it's worth it, I think. This is chapter 33, Jacob and Esau meet. Big moment. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handmaids. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost. And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. See that? He was all scared. And literally, Esau was like, bruh, I ain't seen you in 20 years, my brother. Come here. I freaking love you. Like, I don't even think Esau was all that mad. Like, Esau was like, it's done, whatever. I'm chilling. My kingdom's set up over here. I'm doing my thing. Where my brother at? You know what I'm saying? He's like, where my brother at? Where my brother at? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he was just worried for nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or maybe God kind of twisted it a little bit, used a little bit of godly power to make the reality turn out a little bit different. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Could be neither one. You know, God can do that. God can do anything. All right, let me see. Oh, anyway, this is verse 5. And he lifted up his eyes and said, and saw the women and the children, and said, who are those with thee? And he said, the children which God hath graciously given thy servant. Then the handmaids came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, what meanest thou by all this drove which I met? And he said, these are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself. And Jacob said, nay, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in thy sight, then receive my present at my hand, for therefore I have seen thy face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee. And he said unto him, my Lord knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and herds young are with me. And if men should overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that goeth before me, and the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord unto Seir. And Esau said, let me now leave with thee some of the folk that are with me. And he said, what needeth it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field, where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. I might be saying that wrong. El Elohe Israel. I think that's how you say it, but I might be wrong. This is chapter 34. Dinah is ravished by Shechem. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which he bare unto Jacob. Wait, let me make sure that this ain't leading into that part. Okay, yeah, I think that it is gonna eventually break it into here. Okay, so we about to come to a close here pretty soon. Or maybe this actually might be a better time to come to a close here, because this kind of starts to lead into the story of Joseph. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna call it here. We're gonna call it here at chapter 34 of Genesis. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? Next time we're going to be starting to move into the story of Joseph and the 12 princes, and looking at Joseph's peril at the sake of his 11 brothers, or his 10 brothers, and how they're conspiring against him ended up working in God's favor to completely transform all of Egypt to follow our Lord and Savior. Well, follow our Lord. I guess technically our Lord is the Lord and Savior too, but I'm gonna be careful using that term, because you know that's usually used for Jesus Christ. So more so just follow the Lord. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for joining me this time, and I'll see you guys next week. As always, this is your boy Kale or Malik. Make sure that you follow me on YouTube. You can subscribe to my YouTube, link in bio. I will be posting regular videos, car talks, real talks, and just religious talks. And these videos will be all nice and organized over there too, so you can watch back and study if you didn't catch this live. So I appreciate all you guys taking time to hop in the live with me, and I'll catch you guys next time. God bless. Enjoy your Sunday, and until next time, I'm out. Peace.